Y'all want to hear the perfect joke? My name is John Terry Gatson, but you can call me Professor Gatson because this is Comedy Studies and you are now enrolled.
In my mind, what I think of when I think of MAGA is a story from when I was just getting out of high school. It might have even been my first year of college.
So after that intro, we know that the story he's about to tell will demonstrate his thoughts on MAGA through the lens of his own experience.
My friends were picking me up, and that particular day when they picked me up, I knew I was spending the night at one of their houses, but when they picked me up, they're like, hey, we're going a couple hours away. And when I get in the car, they say this, and I'm like, why are we going to Lee's? And my buddy's like, it's a surprise, right?
This time was different. And so that cues the audience into, oh, okay, what's different? Why do we care about this story?
Now, my second friend in the car is about to go away to seminary. So I went to a Catholic school for high school.
So Josh goes on to give some more context, like how would he be in the car with a friend who's going to seminary? So he tells us about his background, going to Catholic school, and why does that matter? This joke is about him. It's coming from his perspective. So throughout it, we're getting to understand who he is and how he built his perspective, and it matters.
We get to where we're going, and it's a strip club.
All right, up until now, everything has pretty much been set up until we get to they're headed to the strip club. What makes that funny? We have two things that are not supposed to be together, and now we want to see what's going to happen. Comedy is that contradiction between kid leaving for seminary and strip club. Those two things, like juxtaposed, happening at the same time, is what makes this funny. Comedy is about surprise. What's the worst position that this person who's going to seminary could be in? To be at the strip club. The build up to the punchline, that is just as important as the punchline. And this is a joke that's like, it's really narrative. This is a story. So in that way, you could think of the premise of the joke, right? What's the subject of this joke? MAGA reminds me of the story. The subject of the story is what happens when priest meets strip club.
I'm also like taken aback. Like my friend that's going to seminary is like, actually, I guess I'm going to hell, because he's looking around, he's like, right? I'm just generally slightly uncomfortable because I was like a late bloomer, sort of like accepting myself and like accepting my, I guess the way I come off to people.
We know that the point of view we're getting is Josh's point of view. That's why it's important for us to understand, for him to make us understand who Josh is, who he is, right?
And so then our buddy who took us, who was driving, buys my friend who's going to seminary lap dance. And so it's not just any lap dance, it's a lap dance in the private room. And so I was like, you gon' get that boy a heart attack, and then he gonna die, and then he gonna be there, and then be like, look, I did everything right, but I will say I did die at a strip club. That shouldn't even be on me because I didn't know we were going there. But she started rubbing up on me, and it was too perfect. I thought it was one of your angels, all right? And so then I got excited, and then my left arm started to hurt a little bit, and now I'm here. But that shouldn't even be on me, okay? I didn't drive myself. I didn't do it.
Having the friend say like, oh, his left arm hurt, and now he's in heaven. A more interesting way of showing us that his friend had a heart attack without saying he had a heart attack.
And so then, he goes private room, lap dance, and he comes out of the room a new man. The dude comes out of the room. I don't know what happened in the room. I'm assuming dancing, but this dude walks out of the room like he had to do all the dancing. He walked out the room disheveled. Like, do you have money for one more dance?
In comedy, we have a thing called beats. This is the first answer to what happens when Priest Boy meets strip club. First beat is the first instance of us getting to see that play out. The part of the story that we're gonna have fun with is how you can think of a beat. Josh gets up and he does a physical act out, right? This is when you demonstrate through your body, use your body to demonstrate what's going on. We get to see and hear how the friend sounded when he asked for that dance, and that makes the punchline hit even harder.
My friend pays for another dance, and he goes back, and while he's in the room, I had my own journey.
Second beat alert. How we know it's a second beat is because we're repeating the same thing is happening, but funnier. First time we had the guy going in for his lap dance in the private room, and now he gets the money and he goes back again.
Because I was at the strip club and I was just sipping on a Sprite, because this is back when I still drank soda. I had to quit. It's too spicy. It generally burns my chest. Like it's too much, right? But back in the day, I would hit a Sprite, and so.
So here we have another contradiction. We have a guy who thinks Sprite is spicy in the strip club, right? Like those two things don't add up. Back when he used to drink Sprite, like that pause was everything. So mapping is when you take the characteristics of one thing and apply it to another, right? So saying hit a Sprite is similar to saying like hit the way you would like a drug.
So I was sipping all this Sprite, and this one dancer walks by, and she does this thing where she basically like massages the back of my neck as she's walking by. But I am not used to being in strip clubs. I'm also not used to people coming on to me. So I thought it was a spider. So I thought it was a spider. So I started swinging, and I didn't hit anything, but I still was like.
There's a whole nother story going on. One of the goals in writing comedy is to not let the audience get ahead of you. You don't want them to be able to anticipate what's going to happen next. You have to let the joke rest, right? You have to let the audience marinate on it, because if you just go joke with no like space in between, there's no room for surprise, right? And surprise is one of the things that makes people laugh.
She was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "I'm good." She's like, "What's your name?" I was like, "I'm Josh." And she's like, "What brought you in today?" I was like, "Oh, my friend, he's gonna go to seminary, and so we brought him here to make sure." And she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's a funny story. You're funny." And I was like, I didn't say anything funny.
So here's something important happens that you don't know is important. He describes how the dancer acted like he was so funny when he wasn't telling a joke. Now, anybody who's familiar with, the strip club culture or has heard, the women in there are giving you a fantasy and experience. So she's making him feel like he's funnier than he even is. She's building him up. The idea is for him to have a good time and spend money and give her money, right? So we see that happening, and it's important.
"Buy me a drink?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. Do you want a Sprite?" I'm drinking a Sprite. And then she smiled, very sweet smile, and then she got up and pushed her chair in and walked over to some of the other dancers. She gets up and she goes to the other lady. She's like, "Oh, y'all, don't worry. He's slow. Don't." And so then our friend who's going to seminary comes out after the second dance. Whatever happened the first time happened worse the second time, because
that's called an escalation, right? The same thing happened, right? He went in the room, he came out, but it's gotta be bigger this time, right? That's what surprises the audience. The audience has no idea how he's going to come out. And that's the element of surprise you need. You have to go bigger the next time.
Now he like walking out, but he's sort of holding his arm too, and he's like, do you have money for one more dance? Our buddy gives him money, and he...
Physical act out isn't the punchline, even though it's funny. The punchline is, do you have money for one more dance? And what makes that so funny is the act out, is seeing how like destroyed this kid is, but still asking for money for another dance. The fact that he's gonna go back is what's funny.
Sitting with my buddy who brought him, and he's the only one out of all of us who's like chill in this situation. And like, I don't know if he was like a cool guy anyway, but maybe he had just been to strip clubs before, but he was just not fazed. He was just like, oh, I'll get you a drink, yeah. And then our buddy comes out.
I know you see it. And I'm not talking about my change in everything. I know you see how and why he had to let the joke rest, right? This is a perfect example of his friend goes in the room, and now we return to the environment of the strip club, and he describes what's going on with the driver and who he is, right? Which is good information. It fits into the story, but it also serves the purpose of letting there be a rest between his friend going into the room and coming out, letting the joke rest so that we can have the element of surprise.
Walk out like... Do you?
This is how you know the joke has been doing its job up to this point. All Josh has to say is, do you? Crowd erupts with laughter, right? We've seen it 2 times before. We know what he's going to say. Like, all the work that he did in the joke up until this point has worked. Like, that's masterful.
And our friend says, I'm sorry, man, but that's all the money that I had.
We've got this pattern, right? We've got these 3 beats where the kid goes in, comes out, and he asks for more money. It's not so much the pattern itself, it's when you break it. A break in a pattern is a surprise. It's noticeable. The break in this pattern is that the driver is out of money, and so the kid can't go back in. We've broken the pattern. Perfect time to break that pattern. Why? Because he got the most out of that joke he possibly could when all he had to do was say, do you? And then he got a huge laugh.
We get in the car. We're headed back. Our buddy that's going breaks the silence, and he's like, I don't know if I can go to seminary.
Of course he doesn't know if he's going to go to seminary. We kind of anticipated that. And a question that we want to know is what happened to the priest in that room? So there's all of this anticipation built up because through all of this, we don't know. And there's an opportunity for surprise. There's also an opportunity for a release. After is like a release that the audience gets. It's like relief. Like, I wondered what was going to happen, and now I know.
In that moment, I had my own dilemma because I was like, that shouldn't land on me though. Like I shouldn't. That shouldn't be any of my hell though, because we technically broke a priest. He was a pre-priest, but like there's gonna not be a priest now because of what happened tonight. But that's not on me because I didn't drive us here.
It's not his fault, right? And we get a call back to this idea of like, if that gets messed up, it's not going to be on me. Just like in the very beginning when the priest said, the fact that I died in a strip club shouldn't be on me.
And then he's like, yeah, I don't know. I might have to think about it because, I think Cherry loves me.
So the thing to note here is the fact that he had two stories interwoven. The story of his experience at the strip club and the story of his friend from seminary's experience at the strip club gave an opportunity for the reveal of the seminary guy's experience to like slow down, right? Building anticipation, letting it rest. So as like we find out, I'm not going to go to seminary. Then we go to Josh. Oh, this is why I feel guilty about that. And then he's like, oh, here's why I'm not going to go to seminary, because Cherry loves me. So the fact that he had those two stories going at the same time served both of those stories. Both of those stories got to rest while we got, another beat of the other one.
I think I love her too.
Let's break down I Think Cherry Loves Me. This is a perfect demonstration of why specificity is important. This whole time, we didn't know the dancer's name. Priest Boy calling her Cherry shows that he feels that they have a personal connection. And the other thing about Cherry that's so satisfying is that our minds make the connection that the stripper's name was Cherry. And that's satisfying, right? When your own mind can make that connection.
And so when I think about MAGA,
crowd goes wild. Why do they go wild? One, the element of surprise. This joke is actually 13 and a half minutes long. Right? We forgot that this story was a demonstration of how he understands MAGA. Again, he doesn't even have to finish the thought before he gets a big laugh. That callback is so satisfying. And now he's gonna bring it home.
They love this dude, and he thinks, oh, I have their love, I'm good. And they think we love him and he loves us. But he's just up there dancing.
And of course the crowd goes wild. And of course I pulled out my notebook and rewound it and watched it and took 5 pages of notes. Of course I did. It was perfect, and it just demonstrated like, he gave us a perspective. He gave us a new understanding, because that's a big question, right? A big question of what are those people thinking? And I left this joke with an understanding of that, a new way of thinking about that, a new, more empathetic way of thinking about that. And that's why this joke is perfect. Why it's so important that we forgot that that's what this story was about, because I wasn't trying to make the connection to MAGA the whole time. I was engrossed in the story. So the fact that what he's saying is MAGA loves Trump and they think Trump loves him, just like Priest Boy loves Cherry and he thinks he loves Cherry too. But she's just up there dancing. But Trump's just up there dancing. Like, my favorite thing that comedy can do is be a sneak attack. And what I mean by that is you'll be laughing and not even realize that you're getting a new perspective or something really meaningful is happening. Or like, instead of someone preaching to you about something, you're just experiencing it through their point of view and seeing something a different way. And so this joke is perfect to me because it's the perfect example of a sneak attack. It's comedy for a reason, right? It's comedy for more than just the sake of a joke. It's like comedy for the good of us all.